Hi, today we'll be taking a look at the GTX 1650 and seeing how it performs in 2023. A lot of the games aren't from this year, but they're still being updated and are popular titles, so I decided to go with them. I did want to include The Last of Us as well, but with all the performance issues, the high CPU usage, and I thought I'd give it a miss and give them a chance to try and sort it out first. Some of the settings use extravagant amounts of FSR here, so I wouldn't necessarily advise these ones, but I wanted to challenge myself with this one. Try to get a lock 30, 60 and above all resolutions where I could, just to see what the card's capable of and do something a bit different. I paired it with an i5 10400F and used 16GB of 3600MHz CL16 RAM. So, let's do it. Starting with Battlefield 5, and obviously it's not from 2023, but it's a popular game, so I thought I'd include it anyway. So starting with 1080p, we see we're easily able to lock 60 here at any setting, or higher. And if you go down to low there, you're getting a nice 109 average with a minimum of 97, which is great for the online multiplayer really. Surprisingly good start for the system here. Moving down to 1440p. And we see we can hit 30 at high or medium, but really we could lock even higher than that. Or if you want a 60 FPS experience, 1440p's low is great for single player. There's no 4K data with this one though, because I couldn't get a locked 4K 30 at all. So now we're moving on to Assetto, Corsa, Competizione, and 1080p. Here we see we can easily lock 60 at 1080p, or a lot higher. When going lower than high settings, you do get a lot of ghosting in this game though, as it's adding image scaling, and you get the same with FSR too. At 1440p, we'll pretty easily get a lock 60 there. Even on the highest setting there that I've included, we were really close, it was just a little tiny dip to 59. But yeah, or you can go into the hundreds there pretty easily with 1440p low, although you will get the ghosting as mentioned earlier. At 4K we can lock 30 pretty easily without too much abuse, but we can also really get really close to a lock 60, but we're adding double image scale in there, so probably not advisable. Now we're moving on to Resident Evil 4, and in this one I've used my own settings because the card's a bit weak, so I've had to mess around with them a bit. So my high settings are the prioritised graphics settings with the textures set to high 0.5GB, shadow quality low, terrain off and lens flare off. And my low setting is performance mode, but with FSR off and the textures set to high 0.5GB. So we're starting with 1080p high with no FSR here. We see we nearly managed to lock 30, but we would basically be at 30 for most of the game, but it's quite demanding here, so we can't. But adding a bit of FSR, we're in there with the lock 30 there, so it's pretty good without too much image degradation. Now we have 1080p low and we're able to lock, well, 45, it's not bad at all. I'd probably go with this myself in this game. 45 feels a lot better than 30 to me. We can actually get a lock 60 here with a minimum of 70 FPS, but you'll need FSR performance, and at this resolution it's going to look like someone's poked you in the eyes. As this game doesn't do well with FSR in my opinion, but if you really value frames over image, it is an option. At 1440p high we are able to get a lock 30, but we have to use FSR performance, so once again it's not going to look very good here. Now we move to 1440p low, we're able to get a lock 30 quite easily. And to be honest, I'd probably rather use low setting than FSR performance at high. So I mean, I'd use FSR quality there. A nice average of 47 will feel a lot smoother. We can even get a lock 60 when using FSR Ultra Performance, but honestly, the image quality is going to be pretty bad, so that's up to you. At 4K, we were able to get a lock 630, sorry, but once again, heavy usage of FSR there. And for me in this game, FSR, I don't know, it just adds a bit of crispiness, a bit of sizzle to everything, so I'd prefer to go low settings than FSR. In this game you can add other settings to the low settings, such as screen space reflections or number of corpses, and a few other settings what are heavy on the CPU, without affecting your frame rate at all, so it could be worth playing around with. Anyway, now we're moving on to Halo Infinite online multiplayer. At 1080p medium, the low settings we're able to get a lock 60 there, so it's not bad really, and to be honest I can't really tell the difference in this game between the settings that much. I'm not really sure why it's as demanding as it is. It doesn't look amazing. We weren't able to use high settings at any resolution here because of the VRAM limitations, and 1440p medium crashed the game, but on low we can get a lock 30, so maybe if you wanted to play the single player, might be good for that. Couldn't get 4K at all in this one, just crashed or hit the VRAM limit straight away. So now we move on to Spider-Man Miles Morales. At 1080p high settings we're able to get a lock 30 here, that's not bad. And then nearly a lock 60 with a low and FSR performance, but it'll look pretty bad here. At 1440p with medium settings and FSR balance we were able to lock 30 there, so it's not bad. And at 4K with medium settings and FSR Ultra Performance we were able to lock 30 there even at 4K, but it'll look pretty poor at those settings, to be honest. So now we're going to move on to Returnal. It was a bit of a struggle this one, but we did manage to lock 30 with two settings, one with SSR and one without. One's able to get like an average of 47 there, so it will feel okay. With 1440p, we were able to lock 30 with two settings again. Medium with FSR quality, it's probably the setting I'd use for a mixture of image quality and the 30 FPS lock there. Although it might feel slightly less smooth, so maybe not. So we couldn't lock anything at 4K, we couldn't get a 30, so there'll be no 4K data on this one either. So now we have Cyberpunk, which we were able to get a lock 30 quite easily there at 1080p, so it's not bad, but quite a demanding game really. And we were even able to get a lock 60 with FSR Ultra Performance, but it's a lot of FSR, so it will look a bit blurry. At 1440p medium with FSR quality we were able to get 33 there, and that setting will look pretty good. And even at 4K we were able to lock 30 with two different settings, but to be honest, none of them will probably look that great. But yeah, lock 30 4K Cyberpunk, can't whinge. Now we have Fortnite, and we're going to start at 1080p. I thought I'd include a Lumen and Nanite setting there, because you can nearly lock 30. But if you want to actually be competitive, I'd suggest you go to the medium or low settings there. You're getting pretty amazing frame rate here. Now we have 1440p, and you're doing pretty good here, even at medium settings, which looks really good. You can get nearly 100 average there, which is pretty great. and then at low you're getting competitive settings there. I did find at all settings though, it might have just been the recording that I used to benchmark it, but I got a lot of stutter. So my actual 0.1% lows were really low. But it's just the game really, as it does it on all the graphics cards I've tested as well. 4K, yeah, 4K low, you still do really good there, over 100 average. And yeah, pretty good if you did want to play at 4K. There you go. So yeah, pretty amazing for this title really. Well, that's it. It's nice to see it and still get 30 FPS with reasonable settings in all games here, and a lot more in others depending on your usage. It's still more than enough for a budget racing sim rig, if there is such a thing. It offers enough performance to stay competitive in multiplayer games, with this CPU anyway. Especially in Fortnite, it's amazing. It's a great card for someone who's more about their indie games. And it does manage to get you a nice 30 FPS in most single player games by the looks of it too. But it might start to struggle with upcoming releases, or at least need a bit more FSR to help it along, as it's holding on by the skin of its teeth to 30 here in some of these games. But it is surprising how well it does actually do. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching my video. I hope it provided you with some value, or at least entertained you in some way. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe for more. Thanks. Bye.